Can you see me? Hi case fans, I'm the BC Expert Amateur, and we're going to take a look at the MSI MPG Gungnir 120R, which is an ATX case that can also handle M-ATX and m-ITX motherboards. And this is it. As you can see, you've got their logo on the front, which is kind of a cool European style dragon logo. We'll start with the front since here we are. So these are glass panels actually, not plastic, which adds to the weight, but you know, for some people I think that, you know, this is preferable. I don't care whether it's plastic or plexiglass as long as it's not scratched. Now, unfortunately, when I bought this, this was secondhand, not secondhand exactly, but it was an open box at Micro Center. And when I asked the salesperson to check and make sure everything was included, she didn't look carefully enough. And so when I got it home and was doing my review of it, which got deleted, technology is wonderful, I discovered that there are some parts missing. They're not critical to this review, but I will point them out as we go through this case. So the front has ventilation at the top going through the middle and widening out at the bottom. Also on each side you can see that there's ventilation, and so if it was just like this I would be concerned about the fans being kind of starved, but I think this is actually sufficient for the fans. And there's easy to remove, typical, held in place with all these posts. There are no dust filters on the ventilation here, which is a good thing, because trust me, if you had to take off all the dust filters here, 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 and here, you would go crazy trying to put them back on if you were able to even get them off without ruining them. So it was a smart move on their part not to put them here. Also, this face will allow you, I believe, to mount fans on this side if you want to. So you could do a push-pull configuration if you wanted to try that, or something else. Or if you just want more space in the case. The actual filtration is here. I'm not really sure why they have this open, except for maybe like servicing it. But because this is the I/O panel. So that's good, and this is easy to remove. There are two releases here and here, and that just comes off. And you can see from this that we can do 120s and 140s, so we can do 3 of each. And that's pretty much all there is to show you about the front. So let's move on. You're probably wondering where the box is, because I usually do this with the box, but this did not have a box. It was just in some bubble wrap. So that was, you know, a mild disappointment, but I'm sure you'll get over it. They have thumb screws, but they are not retained or captive. So be careful not to lose them. And this comes out, when you're taking this off, you grab this handle here and just pull backwards, which if you've got the back end near your back wall, you know, make sure you have enough clearance to be able to do that. Don't put it too close, because you're also going to choke off the exhaust fan in the back here. And maybe you'll damage your cables if you've got them at too much of an angle. So you can see we've got an ARGB hub here for up to 6 fans, which is good. This does come with ARGB fans, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've got some cable management with Velcro straps here. Not my favorite way of doing it, because the more cables you have running through here, the more it bulges outward, and eventually it interferes with putting on this panel, in my experience. So keep that in mind when you're managing your cables, that you can also use all of these little things for cable ties or twist ties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where are the rest of them? 6, and I think that's all of them. Also, one of the things that's missing is on this side, there should be a tray here for an SSD. Unfortunately, that is one of the missing items. I don't know if the customer forgot to put these things back in, or they stole them and then returned the thing saying, oh, it's complete, you know, because I think sometimes Micro Center is not diligent about checking to make sure a return is complete. In my experience anyways, and this is the most recent, where I made the mistake of trusting the salesperson to have looked carefully enough. Yeah, so we've got the cables for the I/O panel on the front. So we've got the front panel right there. This is one of the cables for these are 3-pin fans. So these are for powering the 3-pin fans. But there isn't a hub for 3-pin fans, as you can see. Also, we've got, what else? This is probably the comms. Oh no, that's the one. Where's the comms? Okay, so this and this, get those out of the way. These are going to go to your motherboard ARGB header and your SATA cable from your power supply respectively. And then we have this USB 3.0 connector, and we have this audio connector, and then we have this USB 3.2, I think it is, connector as well. Those are all for the top. And we have a dual hard drive cage here. Unfortunately, another one of the items that is missing is the second tray that should be up here. And some of the accessories that should have come with this are also missing. Most of them, actually. All I've got is this. And I got a freebie of, well, it's not a freebie. It's for, if you want to run your fans off of one header. It's a 3-way splitter. But everything else that should have come with this, like maybe cable ties and other kinds of fasteners and stuff, are all missing. So for me, this is a little bit frustrating because I can't show you everything about the case. I don't even have the manual. The manual that was the manuals that were included with this were for a different case, the 112 and 113, and so it's different, unfortunately. So this does have an easy to remove hard drive tray. You can put in 2.5 or 3.5 inch SSD in here, and it's held in place with these pins. So that's nice. And then the only other important thing I want to show you on the back here is, number one, we've got some nice cable spaces here that have grommets on them. And then we have 2 up here that don't have the grommets on them. There are also a couple more here that you can't, I'll show you from the other side, from the left side. And as far as how the panel stays on, there are these 3 points here where there's a pin with a, I guess you could call it a pin with a head that slides into those slots to hold it in place. And then of course the thumb screws on this end here. Finally, this is the power supply area. Unfortunately, it does not have a power supply back mount plate, so you do have to put it in through the side, which is rather inconvenient, and I wish that every manufacturer would stop doing that way and just use the back mount plate, so you can just slide it in and out this way. So it's easier to add and remove cables. It does fortunately have 4 supports for the power supply, so that when you're putting it in, it isn't at an angle in here, making it difficult to properly thread the screws, which is fantastic. It's an oversight that you'll see on a lot of cases, but not this one. So that's good. Let's see, what else? I'm going to get this panel out of the way. I'll put this back in here. So on the back, you can see we've got 7 slot covers that are actually reusable for your motherboard. Obviously, you probably won't use them all. And you put your power supply in this way, and you got your 120 fan. You can't do a 140 in the back, unfortunately, and this is your back I/O panel area. I believe this is supposed to come with an I/O shield, but it's also missing. And the only other thing about this is when you're working on changing out these slot covers, you have to go through these holes with a screwdriver to be able to do that. So depending on what kind of screwdriver, if you've got one with a fat neck, you're going to have a problem with this and you'll need to get a different screwdriver. So now we're to the left-hand side, which some people call the front, which I'm not going to argue about. You're wrong, but I'm not going to argue. And it also has thumb screws that are not captive. It's an all-glass panel that has black going all the way around. And again, you grab the handle, slide back, because the 3 pins with heads are in those slots there. And as you can see, we've got 120 millimeter fans in the front and one in the back. They, again, are ARGB and 3-pin connection, so they don't have PWM, but you can still adjust the speed. With software, with BIOS, you can do a fan curve, so not a big deal. You've got the standoffs. Now, some of my standoffs are missing. 1, 2 are missing. Oh well, I'm not going to use this case anyways. Let's see. Oh, it's got the MSI logo here. Oh, sorry, not the other logo. And if you like to show off the fancy power supply you've got, it's got a window so you can do that. Although I think that's kind of, silly, but whatever. And then again, I told you about the 2 cable holes here. And the other ones that you can see here. Of course, there's this one here, primarily for the I/O panel on the front, or really the top. And I guess the only other thing here is you can actually see where the Velcro straps are for the cable management channel in the back. That is almost all there is to that. I do want to show you the fans in action. Okay, I've got it now placed about 10 inches or so from the fans. I have all 4 of the fans running, and they are all running at maximum speed. So if I were to take the panel and I cover this, it's very quiet. So are the fans strong? No. No, they are not. I would say they're pretty weak. Are they going to move enough air to keep the case cool? Well, that would depend entirely on what you choose for the components in here. If you have a hot CPU or something, you might end up having to swap them out with something better. Now you can see here that this fan is representing what the ARGB looks like on rainbow mode or unicorn puke, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know if that's to your taste or not. That's what it looks like. Okay, let's move on. I did want to point out that this is shipped with black synthetic cloth tape over the 4 ARGB hub plugs, the fan plugs, so that they don't come loose during transportation. So that is kind of a nice little touch there. I was trying to see on the website what kind of accessories it was supposed to come from. Unfortunately, I didn't find a picture or information about that, so that's kind of annoying. So there's not a lot more to tell you, but there are some details that are probably important. Now, as far as what you can put in here, unless you mount these fans on the outside here with it, if they'll fit inside of this face. And let me just kind of test something. Now this is I believe this is a 30 millimeter fan, 30 millimeter thick, that is. Obviously, if you swap this out, you're going to have to put this on the inside, which may be a little bit challenging until you move the hard drive cage, which I'll show you in a moment. But in theory, yep, you can even get 30 millimeter thick fans in here. So you can mount on the outside instead of on the inside to give yourself extra space. Maybe you've got a radiator that you need to get in there. You can put the fans on one side, the radiator on the other. You'll probably need to put, in that case, you probably want to put a gasket to make sure the fans are in full contact via the gaskets. So I'm going to put that back on. And it's pretty easy. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so a few facts for you. You can mount two 2.5-inch drives, and well, a total of possibly of 4. So you can mount up to 4 2.5-inch SSDs, or 2 2.5-inch SSDs and 2 3.5-inch SSDs in here. Also, you get these 4, well, you know about the fans. The maximum size, I already explained. The maximum graphics card length is 344 millimeters, which would be about 13.39 inches. The maximum CPU cooler length, or width, from the CPU out this way to the left panel, is 170 millimeters, or 6.69 inches. For radiators, you can do a 120 or 240, 120, 140, 240, 280, or 360. If you see both 280 and 360 available, and you want to mount it here, if you want to save yourself a little bit of money and get almost the same performance, just get a 280. Sorry about that. So yeah, so 280 here, 360 here would be the best, but you can also do smaller ones on that side. Unfortunately, none of this shroud is removable. In fact, like with many cases, this is mostly riveted together, so it's not easy to mod or modify. You can use a standard ATX power supply up to 250 millimeters in length if you take the hard drive cage out. Well, actually, it's an SSD cage, because I don't think most people are going to be using hard drives anymore, but who knows? You know, maybe you want to put a hard drive in there too. And the weight is 9.15 kilos, so it's not particularly heavy. It would probably be more like 7 if it weren't for the glass side panel and the glass on the front. But a lot of people are crazy about having breakable glass instead of plexiglass, which is lighter and cheaper. Okay, so that's about it for that. I do still need to show you the top and the bottom. So we'll start with the top. And as you can see, the top has a dust filter. This is kind of odd to me because most of the time, most people are going to be using the top for exhaust, not intake. So if you're doing exhaust out of here, you want to take this off. And now we can see they were clever enough that they moved the fans so that they would be toward the left-hand side of the case, which means there's all this clearance here between the top of the motherboard and the top of the case, which is fantastic, because if you were to center the fans for aesthetic reasons, then you would really struggle with that tight space being there, what was left over from what's possible. So this is good. So you have two 120s, or two 140s. Yeah, this is 140, this is 120. And this is held in place with magnets, as is very common these days. And here we have, this is the LED light, so you can actually control this. Use this to control the LEDs. I believe this is only for controlling LEDs on the case. I don't think it impacts the ARGB hub, but I could be wrong on that. There is an LED switch light that's going to the ARGB hub. So it's possible that I'm wrong, but I'm not really sure. So we've got jacks for microphone and headset or speakers. We've got a couple of USB 3 and A and Type-C connectors or sockets. This is the LED for power, and this is the reset button. Now, this is easier to push than this one, which is good. I'm glad that they put more resistance on this one, because I hate it when I accidentally push the reset button because I'm too close to it. And I like the fact that the closest thing to the reset button is an LED on one side and the power button on the other side. So the power button is easy to push, but you can go into most BIOSes and set the power button so that it will not automatically turn off the computer. And that way you can make sure, and I'm sorry about this, didn't realize that you weren't able to see all that. So you can go to BIOS and set this so there's a 7-second delay, I believe it is, on most BIOSes, so that you'd have to actually hold it down for 7 seconds before it would actually turn off the computer. So I really was not happy with my 5000X from Corsair, because they placed the reset button right next to the Type-C, and a few times I think it was, next to the jacks. So a few times when I was plugging something into the jacks, I tripped the reset button, which is too easy to push. But this has got really good resistance on it, so that's a definite plus. So this is an intelligent layout. Good job on that part, MSI. So let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom now. Everyone wants to see that, right? Now, as you can see, one of the other thing that's missing from this case is the mesh that's supposed to go there. Now, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of slot thingies there, the kind of mesh you'd want here would not have a frame. It would just be plain mesh. So that's easy. I do have spare mesh lying around if I wanted to put it in here. And these are for the hard drive tray or cage. You have two options. You can have it mounted this far over to the left, or you can have it mounted this far over to the left. It's kind of disappointing that they didn't do a slot for the screws instead, which would have allowed you to adjust exactly how far over it would be. So you could even possibly bring it over. Nah, you can't bring it over any farther because it's right up against the fans in this position. But yeah, slots would be better. So if you have like a tool that you can cut slots in here, I would definitely recommend running a slot from here to here to make sure that you can adjust it according to your desires. And that'll make it a little bit more flexible for you. But they did not do that. Why? Don't ask me. I don't know. Ask MSI. So that's basically it. All right, so what do you think of this case? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it good enough for you? I paid $61 for it, which I think, even if I'd gotten the parts that are missing, I think that would be an appropriate price for this case. Honestly, a lot of cases are sold at such a high markup that it's ridiculous. I certainly wouldn't pay any more than $100 for a case like this. It's an adequate case. It has good airflow, although the fans should be better. It has all the basic features you need in a case. This is going to be good for I wouldn't use this for, say, like a really high-end need. Like, for example, if you're going to do something that's going to really make your computer hot, like maybe rendering or something like that, or CAD, or you're going to be playing AAA games that are really heating up your computer all the time. I wouldn't. You definitely would have to, at the very least, replace the cases fans with high-performance fans. And if that didn't work, there are other things you could do, but ultimately you may end up having to get a better case. But I think that for most people, this case is perfectly adequate. It has an attractive front, which I think is a nice thing. It has the ARGB fans for everybody who wants to look at lights instead of their monitor. I don't know why. And it has all the basic features that people want, except for if you're planning to do SATA SSDs or hard drives, there's not very much space in there for that. So that would be another reason you wouldn't want to get this case. If you need a storage case, this is definitely not that. I would look at my Silverstone SATA or SATA A2 review to see a good one. Another one would be the Kami's Kingdom Classical Storage Master review, which both of those have tons and tons of storage in them. So yeah, but for many people, this is certainly sufficiently good enough. What do you think of it? Is this something that you would be interested in buying? Why? Why not? I would love to hear your comments about this case. Share with me, please, your thoughts. Do you like the fact that the glass is a smoked glass instead of a clear glass, or would you prefer there? I personally do not need to see inside my case all the time. That's why the panels are removable. But some people love to look inside. And oh, if you are somebody who likes to tinker with your computer a lot, I would say there are other cases that are definitely easier to work in, such as the SATA A2, because they're designed more with a builder in mind. This is, not bad to build in, I suspect. However, if you're going to be in and out, swapping out components all the time, there are no removable fan frames that you can take out, and so on and so forth, that would make it easier for you to work in here. You can't take the top off as well. So yeah, I would look elsewhere if you are planning to do a lot of tinkering, or if you're going to be a tester like me. Look forward to my next video about this and the other cases that I've reviewed, in which I will be evaluating their thermal performance as well as how easy it is to build in them. I've got some parts that I'm working on getting in order to be able to do that. Thanks so much for watching, and if you can please help me out, the information is coming up next.
I'm sorry to do this, but I need to ask for your help. Because Amazon and Sedgwick won't take responsibility for the injury I sustained at work, that is going to cause me to have my shoulder replaced on November 29th of 2024. I'm going to be off of work for 3 to 4 months, and the pay that I'll be getting from Amazon during that time, because Sedgwick will not pay me anything, will be after taxes and benefits, probably somewhere in the area of $10, maybe $12, something like that, per hour of a 40-hour week. And so that's going to be very financially troublesome for me, to put it mildly. I mean, just my rent alone is like $1,150, and then there are all the other expenses. I do have some help, but I do appreciate it if anybody is willing to help. You can join my channel, Glenn's Fast Reviews, or you can go to patreon.com/Glenn, MII, and become a member there. If you can't safely do that, please don't, though. I don't want anybody financially getting into trouble trying to help me. That would just that would make me feel really, really bad, as if somehow I was responsible for the choice you made, even though it was your choice. So if you can't, that's okay. It's okay. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day.